Oh yeah, gaming time. So I actually really enjoy Deadlock. It's a great gameplay experience. Right? You fly in here, immediate action. But first of all, this game is nothing what I expected. It's not Team Fortress 2 or 3 Dance. It is not Overwatch. It's not Concord. It's Dota. This game you fight other players, right? You shoot mobs, trying to get the last hit and so on, right? And again, this game I find it really enjoyable, genuinely, really funny. The gameplay is much more simple to Smite, probably, if anything. However, on the same time, I do find the game incredibly bland, and I keep calling it grayscale. And the game is just like really ugly in a way, honestly. Like, it's just appallingly ugly, but really fun gameplay, and it's annoying, honestly. And I think a lot of people are afraid that this game is woke, and honestly, I don't find it particularly woke per se. I just find it really bland. So let's talk about it, because yeah, this is a game that I think actually will be really good, but also aesthetically not at all for a second. And I think it's important also to remember that not everything is woke just because it's ugly, right? And I'm bored honestly compared to Concord, because this is nothing like Concord, but it's also nothing like Overwatch. So let me explain what I mean. So first of all, in this video, I want to go over the actual game mechanics, and then we talk about is it woke or not or whatever. So hope you like that. Comment below what you actually prefer. But you know, deep down, right, I am a game developer, a game designer, and genuinely, I kind of wish I could just spend 10 hours per day talking about game mechanics and not gay mechanics. That's a bad joke, but I get my point. I actually hope we can talk more about actual games. But anyway, first of all then, I have to say I really do enjoy how Deadlock actually has this quick search system, okay? So if you've seen other games, right, like League or whatever, you can search for your role, right, like tank or so on. But this game is that you search per character. This is much smarter. So instead of picking like, oh, I want to be, you know, tank, I can say I want to be Lady Geist, McGinnis, and Paradox. And this I think is a much better system, because now I can search for my favorite characters, right? You can also then of course order them. This is what I really want to play. I cannot play this and so on. And you can obviously have more characters. You can have all if you want to, right? But I actually really enjoy the system. It's great because when you play these games, right, you gravitate against a couple of characters. So for example, in League, I play top almost always in all the seasons, but I prefer playing certain characters, right? So if I can't get top at my favorite characters like Set and so on, then I might actually rather want to play carry DPS, right? So if I get my Ezreal is my favorite AD carry. So if I could search like, oh, I want to be Set, Darius, or Ezreal, that personally for me would be a better search than searching for roles, so to speak. So I really do enjoy the system. I think it's a great system. We'll see how it is for this ranked in this game, but for a quick search, for like a normal play, it's really good. Gameplay, obviously, again, then it's much more of a Dota, League of Legends, or whatever, right? This is their tower. If you're the first one to get a tower down, you get extra money for that. You get souls instead of gold. And you just keep fighting this stuff. And I think the biggest thing, honestly, for me, sort of playing this game, is how it's not as all similar to play a sniper character. So they even have Black Widow, she called Vindicta in this game, and she doesn't play at all like, Black Widow in Overwatch, because you can't really one-shot people in this game with your sniper build at all until you get her ultimate. What it means is that you basically play her to take out mobs, so is that right? Which I'm doing right now as well. So I think that's probably the biggest difference. We have to understand that this is not like a hero fighter game. This is a MOBA game, but you're playing it in third person, right? I keep saying it, but it's probably more similar to Smite then. So now I slapped that character there, so I can farm the tower, right? Obviously, again, this tower early now will be really good. We get a lot of money for that. There we go. So we're dying for it, definitely. There we go. That's the first tower. It's a lot of value, of course. Again, very much that MOBA feel to it. One thing I really enjoy in this game is that it's very quick to go back and shop and heal and so on as well, right? And when you die, you can very quickly go back and just, fight again. So, similar to Overwatch, as soon as you are alive, you basically jump into the fray immediately. It also means it's very easy to swap lanes. So I'm playing an assassin character, I want to go to the other lane I haven't been here yet and gank them. Again, it's very League of Legends and so on. And more probably League actually than Dota in a way, because you have a lot of smoke stuff. I think it's more jungly hiding and so on, in my opinion. But now then, I find this game very rarely do anyone die in the beginning. I find it's actually quite uncommon. It's hard to push it to kill someone. It's in tower number 2 then, it's stronger, it's more power and so on. Her ultimate basically uses Reaper, yeah, she's bullet dance. This is like Reaper with stealth. Actually reminds me of old Ricky Mauder when he had a death trap. There we go. Oh yeah, Reaper with CC, man. That's beautiful. I personally do a lot of finishers with Afi with melee attack in this game. I think it's easier a lot in this game actually to like finish them with the melee attacks. You can buy, so you do buy stuff tonight, you get your builds to go and so on. I think this year so far, here's where the game actually lags a bit, I have to say. Because you don't have that many options, you have a little bit like, oh, this thing now slows, or this thing does some bleeding, whatever. But it's kind of boring, and I think just the icon itself are kind of boring. So you have 3 different categories, right? Like weapon, vitality, and spirit. But it's just like, they don't feel very personalized, right? I prefer much the do thing. Oh, this is the black, Monkey King bar. This thing is like, yeah, I think the game kind of lacks the feel to it. Everything has like a boring name. So you only have 3 categories. You probably should have more categories, right? And split them into different ones. And everything looks so the same. Look at this thing. Like, this is some kind of resilient shielding. This is some kind of shielding. This is some kind of shielding. This is some bullet icon. I mean, you can't tell this apart, right? You know what I mean? This completely lacks that feeling that like Dota has, or similar games, right? Where you have your, mythical this thing, shredding this thing or that thing, like all those icons, right? Typical Warcraft 3, of course, weapon icons. Then Dota 2 and League and so on. They all have unique icons, right? Like this is a classic Agrim Scepter and this thing and so on. Here's like shield, bullet. Yeah. It's really hard to tell anything apart. Everything looks almost exactly the same. It feels like almost every icon is reused over and over again with different colors in the background, right? And should be, I guess, that matched more colors. This thing I really hate in the game. I think it's very hard to shop in this game. Like, seriously. Of course, eventually you can figure out what you want to buy anyway. The game recommends you a build, but it's just really cluttery. It feels like everything is the same thing. It's so hard to determine how they work. And then some items you have to activate, and some you have to like enhance your current abilities, and that is kind of messy. And that being said, alright, because like I said earlier, this game is much more high paced. You go back in and out, right? You fight call it constantly. This game also, is more stressful to buy items because you can almost immediately return and fight, right? And I think honestly the shop in this game is one of the worst part of Deadlock. So like I said, right, it's very cluttery. Only 3 things here. Every icon is almost the same, right? It's only reusing like 2-3 icons, like this like shielding here, then you got this shielding here, other color, but it's like the same thing over and over again. Big mistakes, horrible UI, but also because you can jump back into the fight so quickly. As soon as you're alive again, you can basically almost teleport to the fight. Everyone has recoil and teleport, right? So you're going to go back immediately. And then you had a terrible shop where everything was exactly the same. I hate the shop. And spending like 10-20 seconds and like, where's the item I want to buy? Because I really can't see the difference between these icons here. It all looks so similar. It really bothers me. Like, seriously, I feel very bored every time I have to shop in this game. So it's one of the worst game mechanics in this game. Very hard to kill someone in the first minute of the game. It's not like again Overwatch where you can immediately just defeat someone if you have some noob here or what is he doing? And obviously there's no rank yet, so some people are just terrible at the game. Yeah, what was that? He lost like half his life points in my tower. That made no sense. Yeah, this guy is terrible. He tried to chase after me in the hole there. Like, what is he doing? There we go. I'm owning him. He's terrible though. This guy is terrible. So of course, yeah, now no rank. The games are somewhat releases. Another kill, 5-0, yeah. Look, I can't believe you won this game because they rage quit when you killed them in team battle. But basically, that is very Dota, yeah. So of course, I like the game, but it clears a lot of issues, right, with this stuff. And we have to talk about even the monization of it. Remember Artifact failed, right? Artifact had like the worst idea ever for how to, make money on the game, in history. It was so bad. Always struggle having a good community. And then combine that with the always struggle with having good monetization, right? CS skins or whatever. The briefcase is amazing. This cat is one of the best characters. Yeah, you can fly in there, turn it into a briefcase for your poison and everyone. You can easily jump out again. Yeah, it's just so good. Now, I do agree that this game has an hero design issue. And maybe the word design is wrong here, because for me design means, game design, right? I'm thinking more like a graphical aesthetic issue. The heroes are pretty bland from how they look, okay? Aesthetically wise, I am not very impressed. Like, they don't look very fine, the models aren't very good, and I guess they're going for like a little cheaper, any PC can run it. But I think that this look at a dress or whatever, right? It doesn't look good, honestly. It looks very, very static. That being said, though, I think people are also overblowing it, saying that, oh, it's Vogue, another Vogue game, it's just like Concord, because look at the heroes, they're all ugly and fat or whatever. That is complete lie. I don't think the heroes are Vogue at all. I just think they're kind of bland, right? But I do agree on that. I don't actually like the design of how they look that well, and they don't look that refined, honestly. But except Infernos, he looks decent, like a demon guy. He shoots with his fingers. That's a cool detail. But certainly, Lady Geist, she looks decent, right? She's like typical Vogue cat, so to speak. She's a typical attractive woman. But it's more like the model itself is kind of low polygon. It's low fidelity, the actual characters. But I do agree in a general sense, like I said, that I do find it aesthetically, though, not very pleasing. Everyone is kind of grayscale. Everyone is kind of like, they're going for this, like, mafia demon thing, right? Like 1930s. So I guess what they're going with. But clearly some character could have had more of a revealing afternoon dress or whatever. No, but it's just like, no one is really like, oh my god, what a character, right? They feel kind of static, kind of generic. So I do think that's a fair complaint, though, and an issue that I also see in the game. Like this, obviously, like Vindicta is Black Widow. She's straight up using an uglier Black Widow, right? But maybe it gets better later with better skins or whatever. And also, game is in beta, and I do think that her skirt here is just badly done, and it probably will be improved later, right? But even if they improve the actual fidelity on it, yeah, some of the design are kind of like Warden. Oh, he's a guy in a police outfit. It's really boring. Yeah, there's no personality. I do like the Shiv is like typical, Elvis impersonator, something like that. But it's like Pompadour, yeah. But it does look very plain. And cat like Yamato, she looks just ugly. Yeah. But again, I don't think it's Vogue. I think it's important to understand the difference here, honestly, right? That Vogue, right, something like Dustborn, where every character is like super obese and everyone looks super weird, and they all have like, oh, it's my pronoun, yeah, they all acting like, oh, you're triggering me, yeah. That's Vogue, of course. It's very much forced inclusivity. Yamato is some kind of like, I guess supposed to be a Japanese woman, right? Yamato's a Japanese character, and she looks very pale, and I don't know, something kind of, it was almost like an undead. She looks kind of meh, right? She just doesn't look that appealing. It feels it's more like a pretty bad character aesthetic design rather than anything politically based. It just feels kind of, because all the characters are kind of bland. But I think, honestly, the way I will explain the game, right, is that it's not Vogue, it's grayscale. Everything is just kind of the same color. Everything is like this, bland gray scheme color. And I think that the game definitely probably would stand out a little more if it had better color spectrum and hue and so on. Now, like I said, right, the game is pretty ugly. I mean, I went over how much I hate the icons in the game. I think they're terrible. And talking about like the game isn't the Vogue per se, but it's kind of bland and gray. And I honestly, guys, in this game, I struggle seeing some of the characters. Like this guy, he's obviously very green, so that's like the poison guy. But I honestly struggle sometimes in the game to know who I'm fighting with. Took me a few games, took me a few hours to learn who the characters were, because I can barely recognize some of the characters, right? So I really want to emphasize the point, right? I don't find the game particularly Vogue, as I mentioned, because no, it's like the character is mostly ugly, right? But they're very, very, I keep saying, grayscale, very bleak, and I do struggle on this stand seeing who I'm fighting sometimes. Absolutely. And sometimes I can't even see the character I feel, because I feel they're blending too much into the background. So the game would be better to play in more colorful, typical like Overwatch, like Blizzard feel to it, right? Yeah, it would make the game stand out more. I think this whole like aesthetic of, I don't know, like Mafia, Chicago, 30s is a bad decision. Yeah, from a character standpoint, it's not actually interesting seeing every character being a mafioso. Honestly, that's bad game design, or rather character design, so to speak. But also just how everyone looks the same, everyone has the same weapons. It does feel like it also limits you know, how to be unique with character design, right? Everyone's gonna be basically the same. Sure, you can make an ice demon lady, but she's still gonna run around with like you know, roughly the same weapon, roughly the same look. Yeah, it just feels very generic in that sense, and how everyone looks so same, right? Perhaps you can argue that it is like this because it is woke, and that's probably true. That it is a lot of underlying wokeness to it, and that's why the game is so ugly, right? But I still think there is a huge difference here, and I think I keep saying it, and I think it's important, right, to distinguish between that everything isn't woke, right? Sometimes you can have a video game where every character is just super ugly, and it isn't woke, right? It's just bad game design. Yeah, I think like literally every character is pretty pretty ugly. I also don't find them very woke. So I get why people want to compare Deadlock to Concord, right? Concord is super woke, DEI or whatever, and obviously then there's a lot of talk about that Deadlock has SBI with them, right? So the Bink and so on. But let's be honest, this is not the same thing whatsoever. This is like a really fat lesbian woman. Vindetta is just Black Widow but uglier. Yamato is like a really ugly Japanese woman. So I mean, all of the characters are just really ugly, right? It's just really, really ugly. And I think that's really important to understand it, honestly, right? And it sounds dumb to say, but no. This is nothing like Concord. Concord really is like you're playing, you know, 5 different black women. They're all obese and they're all queer and they're all trans at the same time. And they're also midgets or something like that, you know. They all have different genders or whatever. Yeah, it's just crazy, right? This game is nothing like that, okay? It's just really ugly. I keep saying it, but that's how I look at it, because Deadlock, right, is more like everyone has this like really boring mafios design to it, and yeah, it is very, very generic. It's very bland. I think the biggest issue is probably Vindicta, because she is just straight up a copy of Black Widow, right? And everyone knows that this is just Black Widow, but she's uglier Black Widow. This is an ugly Black Widow, right? So it's like, yeah, okay, this is Black Widow, but she has more clothing on her. So it certainly does feel to some extent woke, but I still don't agree with it. I think it's perhaps, like I said earlier, perhaps the underlying factor is the wokeness. Perhaps it's like, okay, they have met Super Big, they have something, whatever. Valve is infected or whatever, and that might be very much true, and that is why the general character aesthetic are so meh, right? That might be true, but I don't see any character like screaming, oh, this character is woke or whatever, right? Forcing into it, right? That this woman here is like queer or something. She got blue, you know, lips. The game has pronouns, she, her, and she's obviously very unattractive. She's clearly obese. Like, she has all the different, you know, check boxes for what is woke, right? That is why this game is so incredibly woke. That being said, though, character like Infernos, he got a good design. He runs around and he's like a finger gunning, right? He shoots with his finger guns, which is like a nice touch to it. So I do feel that, like I said earlier in the video, that I actually think that this game won't be that woke, honestly, because to me it's more like, okay, Vindetta, right? He could be her, obviously, Black Widow. Okay, she's like an ugly Black Widow, right? But her actual character design, like her body, her face, her ass, or whatever, all of that looks fine. It looks fine, right? Her ass is fine. It's just that she has like a really ugly dress on her, right? So that character, if they give her, you know, a decent looking skin, right, actually would probably look attractive. That being said, maybe they won't, of course. And I do agree with that maybe they won't, right? We don't know exactly how much they're gonna, you know, skin up or, so to speak, the characters, that's true. But I still see this kind of part in the game. I see characters, you know, flying into the game upside down. They have cool, interesting how they are like using the railing thing, how they're running around, how they move and so on. So there's like a lot of feel to it. And so last now then, to summarize my feeling of having played Deadlock, I actually really do enjoy the game mechanics. I think it's really fun. The heroes aren't very creative though. They do feel like they're just taking the Dota heroes, put them in 3D and FPS dead, but it is really fun, right? I mean, and in some way that isn't bad, because immediately I can recognize, you know, 80% of the cast, right? I know exactly who these heroes are, basically, in a MOBA sense, and it actually helps me to, you know, learn and play the game very quickly, right? So, to some extent, that's a good thing, actually. I like it. I like that it's not another, you know, hero shooter, Overwatch, Team Fortress 3, that's I like that it's not that. I like it's not Concord. I like that it's actually, you know, something else, right? We have seen other things. We have seen other like MOBA things before, like Smite, so it's not unique in that sense, but still, you know, it's still not in that way, right? So I like that. I like the pace of the game. As I mentioned, I like that you can return to the fight immediately. I like that it makes you gank faster and so on, so it has high pacing and stuff like that. That's great, and you can very easily shop all the time and so on. That's really great. However, like I said earlier, right, the shops is terrible. Hate the UI, I think it's just so terrible, and the builds do get a bit boring. And obviously the balance is kind of wacky. Like Abrams, I feel he's one of the best characters. Some other characters are way worse. So it feels very on top of the balance thing. It seems to be completely gone or whatever, right? It's just very, very cray on that thing. But I'm honestly fine with that because, again, this like early beta, early alpha thing, right? So I don't really care that half the cast is obviously better. Like, whatever, that can be tuned later. Next, I think is Vogue. It just feels kind of bad. Because end of the day, right, this game, of course, would be better, I keep saying, if the game was more colorful, right? If this game was like Overwatch with more colorful characters, and I don't really mean as it, oh, I want this character to have a bigger ass, I mean the character should be like, her skin should be more glaring, it should stick out more, so whatever, yeah, it should be taller, whatever, yeah. If this game had more of like, noticeable character design, it would be easy to just play the game. That the game actually is so bland, I keep saying it, but I really think that the game is so bland that it hurts the gameplay experience. Not just for being like, oh, I don't want to have you sexy boobies and ass. No, the game is hurt because everything is so bland that I can't tell character apart. Yeah, it's hard to watch the characters. The UX design, whatever you call it, UX design feels bad in the game because everyone looks so bland and similar. But anyway, like the subscribe, slap it, and have a great day.